Hello everyone, welcome to Valley Homes on TV. I'm Todd Flesner, your host here. Thanks for joining us on Channel 26 in Milpitas, where we bring you information about our community, the local real estate market, and just try to keep you up to speed with what's going on. So we're glad you've joined us. And I have a guest today. Love to get a chance to introduce you to. Holland Woolley is joining us. Welcome, Holland.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And Holland's in the business of doing environmental reports. And when we're looking at real estate and looking at property, understanding the condition of that property is important. And that's a piece of the puzzle that you help folks figure out. So, we'll start out, just get to know a little bit about you and your background and history. Tell us about yourself. Are you from this area? Where'd you grow up? Your school?
I was originally born down in Santa Monica, and
Okay.
My folks moved me up to the Santa Cruz Mountains when I was 3. So I did most of my growing up there. Went to
Okay.
high school up there. Did some college over on the Santa Cruz side of the hill, and I've done some environmental studies up at Berkeley.
Okay, yeah, terrific. So you've been in the area then for a bit of time.
About 40 years.
You don't want to have to give away your age, but you are a long-time Bay Area guy, so you know the area and what goes on here. And what is it that you really like about the Bay Area? And you live kind of more on the Santa Cruz side of things, I understand.
I do. I live
Yeah.
on the Santa Cruz side of things, but it's great because you can be at the beach in 30 minutes. You can go to Great America. You can go to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. You can get up to Tahoe in a few hours. Just the amount of things that we can get into in different environments very quickly is wonderful.
It is a great place to live.
It is.
So let's find out a little bit about your business and what you do. Now, how'd you get into the environmental services?
So I had moved back down to Southern California. I was doing asset evaluation and quality control for a motion picture restoration and preservation lab. And one of the engineers there, named Gary Duncan, he's still a good friend, had left the business, and his mother-in-law was in the insurance industry. And this is, more than 15 years ago. And she advised him, hey, you ought to check out this mold thing.
Okay.
And so he went out and got certified to do that. My wife was born and raised in Aptos, and we had just recently gotten married and wanted to move back up to the Bay Area to be around family. And went out and did a few jobs with Gary. Looked like a good fit, and went out and started getting my certifications going and started a business.
All right. Well, terrific. So you've been in business for yourself, and tell us a little bit about your business.
Gosh, it's all environmental consulting. Probably 85% of what I do is mold assessments.
Okay.
So going out to structures and looking for water damage and mold growth and that sort of thing. I'm also licensed to do radon. We do a lot of bacteria, allergens, volatile organic compounds, mostly air quality.
Okay.
Indoor air quality.
All right. So now, then who is it then that would engage your services typically?
Gosh, it's everybody from homeowners, landlords, homeowners associations, management companies,
Okay.
insurance companies. I get a little bit of everything.
Okay. So now, is there something that will typically spur that call? Someone to say, hey, we need to get you to come out to take a look at a situation here on site?
It varies. Honestly, a lot of times when people call me, they already strongly suspect or downright know that they have a problem. They want to know what they're dealing with. They need a protocol written up on who should do the work, how it should be done, what needs to be addressed with different building materials.
Okay.
And that's where I come in.
Okay. And so then you come out, you do an assessment, you write a report. I mean, how does that all come together?
Yeah, so we go through the structure. Sometimes it's a full structure, sometimes it's just part of a structure. It depends on the client's needs. But with mold, we're looking for signs of past or current water intrusion.
Okay.
So we use some equipment to determine moisture content of the building materials and find what's active, what's not, and then come up with a sampling strategy so I can get the information that I need to write an appropriate protocol.
Okay. Well, good. So now, is there something that folks ought to be looking for then, or some things that kind of tip that off? Is there odor? Is it sight? Is it?
It's funny. When I started 13 years ago, there were 100,000 different types of identified mold, and now there's over 1.5 million.
Oh my goodness!
And not all of them produce odors. So really, it's about water and even humidity. Water in the air, humidity. When humidity levels are sustained at high enough points, 60% or above, that's enough to start growing mold.
Okay.
Some kinds of mold. So that's when people start getting mold on their personal items and growing in carpet and on dressers and that sort of thing. And typically there's some sort of water intrusion, but possibly ventilation issues. There's, like most things in the world, it takes a few things to go wrong to really make things go wrong. But mold is all about water.
So now why is mold such a concern then for folks?
Well, there's 3 different main types of mold categories. There's the allergenic, which affect mostly the old, the young, susceptible people, people going through chemotherapies, immune deficiencies, that sort of thing. Same with the pathogenic molds. Those are the molds that grow in your body. Those are my clients that I get with it growing in their nasal cavities or in their lungs, or they have skin irritations, things like that. And then there are the toxic types of mold, which are producing mycotoxins. So those affect just about everybody.
Okay.
So the health effects can range depending on the person that we're dealing with and how bad the air quality is.
Well, yeah, I've heard that mold can be a really serious health issue.
It can. I'll tell you, the very first job I did on my own, I'm not going to disclose the location and that sort of thing, but it was a family, and they had a family friend that kept coming over. First time she came over, and her trachea swelled shut, and she was hospitalized. And I thought, wow, that's really weird, bad luck. Well, she got well. They had her back over. Same thing happened. And it turns out these folks had an addition put on their house. And, it's not common practice for a lot of contractors to tarp the structure during periods of rain. And, again, many things went wrong, but the framing got very wet. They buttoned up the building envelope really quickly. The insulation company covered up all the vents, and the entire attic was black and fuzzy.
Oh my goodness!
With maybe 1 square foot of a different type of white mold, but it was a pretty bad deal.
Oh my goodness! And so you came in and identified that and helped to solve that the mystery for them then.
Yeah, I wrote up the protocol. My company doesn't do the cleanup, anything that I have to recommend, because that'd be a conflict of interest. So we got my client in contact with a few other companies. They got their bids. They went with the company they liked. They did the cleanup, and then we redid the testing to prove that it was done thoroughly and correctly.
Well, let's talk about some other concerns that folks might have. Radon.
Sure.
What's the issue with radon? I understand that it's really difficult. You can't tell. There's no odor or anything like that to detect. So
radon is a really tricky little substance.
Yeah.
They call it the silent killer. It has, like you said, no odor, no taste, no smell. Nothing. And honestly, folks on the West Coast are woefully uneducated about it. Most of my clients are either relocation companies, people from the East Coast, sometimes people from Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara has very high levels. But essentially, it's degrading uranium in the soil under your house, and it can shift. So you might have an issue at your house, your neighbor may not, and vice versa. And it kills about 20,000 people a year through lung cancer.
Oh my goodness.
It's the second leading cause of lung cancer in the States. So it's pretty serious.
Now, is it a prevalent sort of issue? You mentioned Santa Barbara in that area. How about throughout the Bay Area here? Instances of that?
Santa Clara, San Jose have high levels in places. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
and by high levels I mean levels above the action limit. So yeah, Santa Barbara does. I said Carmel Valley has very high levels in spaces.
Okay.
And again, San Jose, Santa Clara.
So someone who's looking to buy a property here then in Santa Clara Valley, that may be something they consider then is a test for that.
Absolutely. I mean, when you consider the cost of real estate here,
Right.
To have that inspection done is a few $100s. It's a small percentage of the price of the transaction.
Sure. Other things that folks ought to be aware of, the asbestos perhaps. Is that an issue?
Yeah, asbestos is a regulated material. Basically, just to keep it simple, pre-1980 structures. And lots of people think popcorn ceilings they associate with asbestos,
Right.
Which is good, but they don't realize that it could be in floor tiles, it could be in the mastic of the floor tile, the drywall itself, drywall tape, drywall mud, texture. They put it in a lot of materials, and they put it in there to make them strong and resilient. The problem with asbestos is it's so strong and resilient that we can't metabolize it, so it gives us issues. But it's a naturally occurring mineral. It's the state rock, it's the serpentine rock. It's a type of asbestos. It's very prevalent.
Oh, no kidding. So, but building materials here recently, as you said, 1980. So, anybody with a home prior to 1980, is that something you got to be aware of?
If the material's in good shape, meaning there aren't big, dings in their acoustic ceilings or in their walls, then they're probably not being exposed a whole lot. As long as it's not what we call friable, meaning it can be crushed with hand pressure.
Okay.
you're unlikely to be breathing it, and really that's the source of the problem is when you breathe in the fibers.
Right.
Again, lung cancer, mesothelioma, all those commercials you see on TV.
Right, the late night guys.
Exactly.
Well, good. Are there other things that folks ought to be aware of in terms of just environmentally, in terms of testing or being aware of things that are in and around our homes?
Sure. RVs and mobile homes are notorious for having urea formaldehyde in them. They put it in a lot of carpets, and it's also a lot of woods.
Okay.
And that's something certainly can be tested for. A lot of the lower end furniture, pressboard, and those types of materials have a lot of different chemicals. Flooring. Years ago they used to talk about bamboo flooring when it was the new green material.
Right.
And it was some of the worst off-gassing material.
Oh my goodness.
That you could think of, but it was easily renewable, so it was being marketed as green, even though it had a lot of chemicals in it. It's much better now. But yeah, you have to think about your carpets and all the materials you're putting in your home. It can add up.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk for a moment here. What is it that you really enjoy about your job and helping folks out with looking at what's around them in their environment?
When I left the film industry, I had 3 goals.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to help people out.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to not be in an office all day long. I drove 56,000 miles last year helping people out, so I get around quite a bit. And I wanted to make a decent living and support my family.
Uh-huh.
And this industry supports all 3 of those things, so
Good.
I really enjoy it.
Good. Challenges?
Challenges? Well, because mostly I do mold, and mold is fairly unregulated. The biggest challenges are people with conflicts of interest, the companies that go out and do the testing, the inspection, they do the cleanup, and then worst of all, they'll do the post-cleaning verification, which is where you retest it, and they're essentially auditing themselves.
Okay.
There are a particular few companies out there that I get asked to review their reports and their practices all the way down to the lab work, and there's some pretty sketchy people out there.
Okay.
They're not breaking the law necessarily because it's not as if it's like asbestos or lead or radon. It's illegal to work both sides of the fence.
Okay.
With mold, it's not technically illegal, but most of the folks that do both sides are pretty shady. So there's a lot of educating potential clients on here's why this costs as much as it does, here's what you're getting when you hire me.
Well, good. Well, thanks for bringing that up. I mean, are there things that people ought to be asking, if they have a mold company or somebody's coming out looking to do some repairs for them?
Absolutely. You don't want a company that does the testing to do the remediation.
Okay.
Period. You may have one of those companies that comes out and does the testing, but then go get bids, get a second opinion.
Okay.
The ethical issues in the mold industry are pretty bad, and you see people just plain get taken advantage of because they're scared.
Well, great tip.
Yeah, people
Great
use
tip.
scare tactics for those folks, and it's just not nice.
Well, yeah, when people are thinking about their health, and I can understand where the scare tactics they motivate people to move in a way that may not be in their best interest.
Sure. I mean, if you think your house is making your kids sick, that's an emotional, important thing that you want to get done right away, and that's the kind of folks that those companies prey on, unfortunately.
Good. Well, if folks have questions, they have questions about their home, testing, or just in general, how can they get a hold of you?
I give people my cell phone. It's 831-227-0805, or we've also got an 800 number. It's 866-395-MOLD.
Terrific. Yeah, you've been a great source of information for us
Thanks.
this afternoon. Appreciate you coming in. And
happy to be here.
Spend a little time with us, and wish you all the best of luck.
Thanks. You too, Todd.
All right.
Nice seeing you.
All right, take care. Thanks for joining us, folks, on Valley Homes on TV.
The following is a public service announcement test to determine if you need a fishing license and boat registration before you head out on the water. Let us begin. Are you a pelican? Does this look like your house? Is this your idea of fishing with friends? Do you use your feet as fishing hooks? Are you your own boat? Do you have webbed feet? No, I mean like a... That's the one. Do you want this in your favorite lake? Yuck, yike. No thanks, mister. Regardless how you answered, you need to be licensed and registered because it helps local conservation efforts protect the very natural resources you enjoy boating and fishing in for generations to come. Do your part at takemefishing.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Valley Homes on TV. I'm Debbie Giordano, along with Todd Flesner.
Hey, Debbie.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Well, I hear you brought us a couple T-shirts. So what's this all about?
Well, I've been hearing about you. You're on TV all the time.
And so are you.
So, we like to have a little fun every once in a while.
We
so.
do. Well, I love it. I'm going to sport this around town and let people know that we are on Channel 26 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6:30 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m.
Terrific, yeah. And we enjoy bringing people information about Milpitas, our local community, what's happening in the real estate market. It's just been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun over the years. So, talking about the real estate market, oh my gosh, what can I say? The market's been on fire this year. In the California Association of Realtors, they have an article, A Troubling Shortage of Homes. And that is probably true to form here, particularly in our local area. We're seeing a high impact of demand, a low volume of supply. So I'll give you the stats and the reports on the housing prices, but are you seeing the same thing too in your end?
Absolutely. I work with a lot of folks who come in who want to get pre-approved, of course, to buy. And so I get to walk with them through that experience as they put their offer in, provide the pre-approval letter, and then
pray.
that it's accepted, and then the follow-up, getting to chat with them about, they were one of 10, one of 15, or, and how that process went. And so, that's just because there aren't enough homes for as many people who want to buy right now.
Right. And so I've got an open house coming up this weekend, so I can report to you the numbers. I'm seeing 85 to 100 families is what historically I've had this year. Offers going in 40, 50, 60. I'm closing a deal this Friday. You won't believe it's a home in Berryessa area, which is right over the border here in Milpitas.
Right.
Priced at $868,000, and we're closing it at $975,000. So.
That's and that's not unusual to hear those sort of stories these days, where multiple offers over asking price, and for the buyers, it's really the strategy is how much over do I have to go to be able to to get it.
And a good agent should guide you in that respect. So let's talk about some things that impact an offer or a contract other than just pricing.
Okay.
Understanding loan and inspection contingencies. Those are good things. An inspection contingency in the contract is where a buyer puts in a certain number of days to allow them to re-inspect the property. Maybe, give an example, Todd, a seller may have provided a termite and a property inspection report, and then the buyer can either read and accept those reports or go out and get their own inspections, and there's a contingency period for that. The other is a loan contingency, which let's talk about that. How does that work in your end of the world?
Well, oftentimes folks are coming in these days and they're pre-approved, but the loan may have additional conditions that go with it. It may be the appraisal is a piece of that. Or, as you talked about, termite inspections might be a piece of that if that's included in the contract. And just other paperwork that might go along with that loan in that loan program. So oftentimes, we don't get that loan on the underwriter's desk until we have the full package there. And that includes the appraisal, because the loan is really based on that piece of property.
On the value of the property.
Exactly. And that property is the collateral. So, even if we've had a loan pre-underwritten, really it's got to go back because of the property and its portion of that loan process.
And my experience from my end on the selling end is that sometimes the appraisal's been done and it works.
Yes.
And then the appraisal gets re-evaluated. It actually, there's another process of looking through that appraiser by a top level senior management appraiser.
Well,
or something.
there can be things called field reviews or
Correct.
desk review.
Mm-hmm.
Depending upon the financing package, some may require 2 appraisals. Depending
Wow.
if it's a jumbo loan, sometimes
Okay.
those loans will require 2 appraisals, depending upon the degree of risk that's there. And all appraisers or appraisal reports actually are graded these days. And there's a grading process to determine the acceptability, degree of risk that might be involved in that. Some of that has to do with how much adjustments have been made to the comparable sales.
Correct.
Right?
Correct, yeah.
So
And with limited sales activity, it's very difficult to get that in.
You're right.
So this article talks about those contingencies.
Yes.
Loan, very important. Although, as we speak, with the market being as so hot as it is,
Yeah.
and there are still some cash buyers out there, many pre-approved buyers are coming in with no loan contingency and taking that risk that they are able to put this in altogether.
Well,
So are
that's-
you seeing that also?
I am seeing that as well, and that's one of the things that I try to talk with folks about as we get them pre-approved. What is that risk? Do they have the capacity to be able to do that when that contract is written? Talking about what are the comparables, and if the appraisal should come in short, what are their alternatives? I always have a plan B.
Yeah, right.
There's always a plan B.
Okay,
So,
okay.
all right.
Well, as we speak today, the Dow Jones broke 18,000. So it's, stock market's been doing well since we last met and
It
talked
has.
about the financial activity. How's that impacting the loan market?
Well, loan rates remain very, very attractive, just above their historic lows. We've talked off and on about the tug of war for investment dollars, but this really is a global economy. Right now, we're not seeing much in inflation, and globally, the bond market doesn't have to give as high a rate of return to still attract that investment. So we're seeing bond rates below 2 for the 10-year Treasury. Which mean interest rates are still in the 3s, the high 3s.
And do you see that holding, or what do you see in terms of the Fed maybe increasing the discount rate?
Well, headed into 2016, there's speculation the Fed may go up as much as a full % by the year end, and that's really been backed off of. The last increase we had was right at the end of 2015 in December, and the market kind of stalled as a result. The number of things, again, looking at the global economy, we're doing well here in the U.S. relative to the rest of the world, right? But it looks like we may have maybe 1, maybe 2 increases this year. So the Fed's really backed off of that. There's the unemployment numbers are really, really good, but inflation remains very, very low.
Okay.
And that's another one of the key sort of things that the Fed looks at. As long as inflation is low, I think we're going to see interest rates remain low.
Terrific.
And GDP has not been really growing. It's been under 1%.
Okay, all right. Sounds
So,
good. So we can report that in next time too and see how
Yes.
that's going. So like I said, the market's been very brisk this year. Would you like me to tell you what's been going
Yeah,
on with the
I'd love
stats?
to hear what's
The
happening.
numbers,
Yeah.
the magic numbers. Okay, in March of 2015, we had an average price here in Milpitas of a single family detached home of $891,000 and a median price of $863,000. Now that kind of it went up and a little bit down through the year of 2015 to 2016 because right now, March of 2016, we're at an average price of $905,000 and a median price of $856,000. So not a lot of change there in a 12-month period, but you're going to see some progression here in the next 30 to 60 days in those numbers. In the condo townhouse market, the average price in March of 2015 was $576,000 and median price was $565,000. But let me tell you, the average price jumped up last month to $631,000 and median price of $665,000. We should have bought 100 townhomes a few years ago. We'd be retired, at least doing the show for fun, so.
Well,
anyway.
my crystal ball's broken. I don't know about yours. It's, yeah.
Yeah, it's been an amazing market here in Milpitas, and
This
it,
really
it,
is.
it just seems like the townhomes that's affordable, and it's far outreaching the affordability of the single-family detached. But we're still seeing buyers come in. I mean, there's a plethora of buyers being able to afford anywhere from $1 million to 1.2 for a starter beginner property. So I don't see any end of sight to the escalation in pricing.
I mean, I get asked that question quite a bit right now. Are we in a bubble? Will we see a price drop in the near future? And again, not knowing what the future holds, but I think that the fundamentals of this market are much different than they were back in 2007, 2008 when we saw the last correction, right?
Folks were buying homes they couldn't afford.
Exactly.
Financing in these loans that were being called due and payable, or they
Correct.
couldn't refinance and get a lower rate.
Correct.
Because the values had gone down. It was
Exactly.
just a nightmare.
Well, it was. I mean, the stated income loans, and I remember people coming back in those days and asking, how much home can I afford? And I said, you're asking the wrong question. Not how much of a loan can I get you? I can get you way more money than is good for you. And unfortunately, a lot of folks, didn't get that same advice, and they just jumped in. There was a lot of speculation during that time frame.
Well, and I think part of that, and I represented some buyers too. They always thought that the pricing would continue to go up.
Absolutely,
We just never saw what we saw. So I agree
Yeah.
with you. I was counseling a buyer, which I referred to you a couple days ago, and she asked the same thing. Should I wait a year or two to buy? And I said, if you can jump in, I would do it. I don't think prices are going to go down, and we're just in such a healthy economy right here locally that
Right.
I don't see that to be a problem.
No, I don't either. And I think the other thing for folks who are considering, is this the market to buy into? If you're renting, I'm sure you're seeing rent increases. We're seeing that across the region, large increases in rent. The other thing to consider is when you buy and you use a safe 30-year fixed rate loan, you are locking in your home price, your housing price for the long term. You have
Taxes may go up.
You get a little bit of a
Property
tax,
taxes.
but the bulk of that, your mortgage payment, if you use a 30-year fixed rate loan, you've now taken control of that expense.
And that's a person because you look at numbers and finance, but I look at the value. They're not only locking in a certain rate or a price for their home and payments, but they're locking in a school,
Yep.
a place to raise their children, and a place to be able to just hang their hat and call home. That's very important.
Absolutely,
to a family.
absolutely. So a lot of good considerations, and it's a big decision that folks make, but I think that over the long term is proved to be the right decision for many, many people. It's the American dream, owning your own home.
I agree. Well, Todd, thank you very much I'm going to wear this T-shirt in pride. I tell you, this is great.
Well, I'll look for you in the grocery store with your shirt on.
Absolutely. So you want to let folks know where they can contact you.
Yeah, email tflesner@opusadvisors.com.
Great. And then any questions about the show? We're always looking for guests, and you can reach me at my email address, Giordano, Giordano, DJ @AOL.com. So,
Terrific.
good. We will look forward to our next guest next time.
Absolutely. We're glad the folks joined in, and we've been having fun. It was good to see you again today, Deb.
Good to see you again. See you in a few weeks, Todd. Thanks.
Great.